The rain had been falling since dawn, a steady whisper against the dense canopy of pines. Clara Bennett tightened her coat and pulled her scarf higher against her neck as she made her way along the narrow woodland trail. She had walked these woods hundreds of times before, finding comfort in the solitude they offered. Life in the small Montana town hadn't been kind to her lately, her father's passing, the mounting bills from the family farm, and a loneliness that gnawed at her in the quiet hours. The woods were the only place she could breathe. That morning, she had almost stayed home. But some quiet pull, had urged her into the mist. That was when she saw him. He was lying against a fallen log, one arm clutched to his side, his clothes torn and muddy. His hat had fallen a few feet away, and a streak of dried blood ran down his temple. His breathing was ragged, every inhale sharp with pain. Clara froze for a moment, her heart pounding. In a town like hers, strangers didn't just appear in the woods, especially not men who looked like they'd stepped out of an old western. She approached cautiously, kneeling beside him. "Sir, can you hear me?" His eyes opened, clear, sharp, but clouded with exhaustion. "Help, please," he managed, his voice barely more than a whisper. Clara's instincts took over. She tore a strip from her scarf and pressed it gently against the wound on his side. "You've lost a lot of blood," she murmured, glancing around. She knew there wasn't time to run back to town for help. The only option was to get him to her cabin. It was no small task. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and despite his weakened state, heavy. Step by step, she dragged and supported him, the wet earth making every move harder. Twice, she nearly fell. Twice, he told her to leave him, but each time she shook her head fiercely. "I'm not leaving you here to die," she said through clenched teeth. When they finally reached her cabin, she eased him onto the couch by the fire and set to work. She cleaned his wounds, wrapped them with what supplies she had, and brewed tea to keep him warm. All the while, she kept glancing at him, at his weathered face, the faint lines around his eyes, the stubborn strength in his jaw. He didn't look like a man used to asking for help. As the hours passed, he spoke little, only giving his name, James. He didn't explain what had happened, and she didn't press. In her experience, people revealed their truths when they were ready. Over the next few days, she fed him, tended to his wounds, and read to him from the old books her father used to love. He listened quietly, sometimes with his eyes closed, sometimes with a faint smile playing on his lips. It was on the fourth night, as the storm raged outside, that he finally spoke more than a few words. "I wasn't always like this," he said softly, staring at the fire. "I used to think I had everything, a ranch, money, freedom. But I lost myself chasing the wrong things. Guess life decided to slow me down the hard way." Clara studied him, sensing the heaviness in his voice. "Money and land don't mean much if you've got no one to share them with," she replied. It was something her father had always said, and it seemed to strike something in James. The days turned into a week, and slowly, James grew stronger. He started chopping wood to help her, fixing the broken latch on her barn door, and mending her old fence. They shared meals by the fire, laughter over small jokes, and quiet moments watching the snow fall outside. Clara found herself looking forward to those moments more than she wanted to admit. Then, one morning, she woke to find him gone. Panic clawed at her chest until she saw the note on the table. "Thank you for saving my life. I'll come back, I promise." Weeks passed. Clara tried to convince herself he was just another drifter passing through, but deep down, she missed him more than made sense. Then, one crisp spring morning, a line of black trucks rolled up to her farmhouse. She stepped outside, shielding her eyes from the sun, and there he was. Only now, James wasn't in worn clothes and a battered hat. He stood tall in a tailored coat, his boots polished, a confident air about him. Men in suits unloaded supplies from the trucks, lumber, tools, crates of fresh produce. "I told you I'd come back," he said with a smile. Clara blinked in disbelief. "What is all this?" "This," he said, gesturing to the supplies, "is me keeping a promise. I own one of the largest ranches in the state. And when you saved me, you didn't know, or care, who I was. You gave me kindness when I was at my lowest. Now, I want to help you the way you helped me." At first, she protested. She didn't want charity, but James insisted, explaining that this wasn't charity, it was gratitude. Over the next weeks, he and his crew rebuilt her barn, repaired the farmhouse roof, and fenced her property. James stayed, working alongside her as though he belonged there. Somewhere between the days of hammering nails and evenings spent watching sunsets, Clara realized something: James wasn't just a man she'd rescued. He was someone who understood loss, who valued hard work, and who had chosen, despite his wealth, to live simply beside her. Months later, the farm was thriving again. One evening, as they stood at the edge of the field watching the horizon burn gold, James took her hand. "Clara," he said, his voice warm but steady, "you found me when I was lost. You didn't just heal my body, you gave me a reason to live again. I don't want to leave this place, are you? Will you let me stay?" Tears stung her eyes, but she smiled. "You already belong here." In the years that followed, their life together wasn't perfect. There were bad harvests, storms, and plenty of challenges. But they faced them side by side, bound by a bond forged in a stormy forest. When one life was saved,